Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Star Citizen Alpha 4.0.2 Live. It is on the live server now. So we're going to be covering everything that is new, what we can expect upcoming this year. So as you can see, 4.0.2 is live. A couple of things to take into consideration is it is built with long-term persistence, but certain player things such as hangar layout, custom characters, any refinery jobs, any of your ship components, any ammo, med pens, things like that, any SCUs that you had in storage, all of that will be lost. All of that will be wiped. Just because of the way that the server wipes happen at the moment. Not the server wipes, but the game updates. Everything will also be back in your home locations. You have to deal with that as well. But your ships that you've bought in game, they'll persist. The money you've got, the reputation you've got, the missions you've completed, all of that should persist. But everything will just be back at your home location. All right, let's have a look at what we got. So, locations, planet nighttime brightness update. So we can see planetary night brightness has had a polish pass. Biome streaming performance optimizations and optimizing a pass on the Pyro outposts. That should hopefully help if you're playing in Pyro at the moment. Gameplay, distortion fall off time adjustments, tractor tool player look adjustments. That's a really good one. So greatly increase the distortion fall off time for the S4 power plant on the Polaris, the Reclaimer, and the 890 jump. You've got those big ships. You're going to see an improvement on the distortion fall off times. Max player look rotation scale for the dedicated tractor tool has been reduced to add a bit more weighty feel for the heavier items. They're trying to move you now away from the hand tool into the max lift, and from the max lift into things like the Atlas and into the ship tractor beams. If you're using something like a Constellation Taurus, there's going to be better ways now. So the idea is that you're meant to be able to do small things with a hand multi-tool, but only small things. You're going to notice this if you lock a 32 SCU box to a cargo grid. You're not going to be able to unlock it with a hand tool. You're going to need a max lift. So just bear that in mind if you're moving cargo. Added new distance values to the spawning of salvage ships around rest stops to avoid cleanup. This is an important one. So in the last patch, what was happening is you'd be in the middle of salvaging. All of a sudden, your ship that you were salvaging would disappear. Maybe you'd salvage the guns or items off that ship, it would disappear. Or maybe your own ship would just disappear. That happened to me as well. So moving things away. Also, the other problem we had with things too close to the stations was that we couldn't use our tractor beams. So we weren't actually able to sort of salvage a lot of the components or boxes out the back of the loot just based on the fact they were too close, they were in that armistice zone. So adding that new distance value, the spawning of salvage ships, should not only help to avoid cleanup, should hopefully also avoid the problem with not being able to drag it or move it or get loot from it. Ship vehicles, both the Zeus and the Starlancer Max have been added to the PU shop, and they've sorted out flight markers and HUD update. So the Zeus CL and the ES variant are now in New Deal in Lorville, and the MISC Starlancer Max is also in New Deal Lorville, but it's also in Astro Armada in Area 18. So New Deal Lorville really getting it's becoming the place to go to get ships at the moment. All right, additional ship updates. So flight markers, better sorting of essential markers and prioritizing ones closer to the center of the screen. Adding new ship compass with performance improvement. Return the camera shake and vibration effects for a spaceship flight while in first person. Restricted the Heartseeker weapon and gimbal to only work with a Heartseeker mount. The Misk Fortune had an LOD and art polish pass. The Mariah Guardian had a LOD transition polish, and the Mariah Guardian also with a QI had an insurance claim timer and cost adjustment. So 12-minute base now, 6,000 AUEC, 3 minutes expedited. The Starfarer moved the MFDs down to avoid intersecting with advanced HUDs. A lot of people have been complaining about that one. If you like the Starfarer, you're going to have a better time now with them MFDs. You're not going to need the hotkeys as much. It was really difficult. It was impossible to be able to use it. So that's going to be a good one for them to have added in as well. Core Tech, they've changed the building blocks and the warning info message. You'll see now different colors. So updating warning info pop-ups in menus to building blocks and adjusted styling, color codes, error codes, and wording for more accurate and clear information. Core tech updates. Further networking changes to help reduce long load times. It was getting quite bad trying to get into servers at one point, and hopefully they've fixed that or they're working on that. The AI planet navigation has had a performance polish. Instant hangars has had performance optimizations. Further lighting and rogue entity performance polish pass for Stanton landing zones, and added new distance values to the spawning of salvage ship around rest stops to avoid cleanup, which was mentioned before. Updated the loading screen image. They're starting now to bring in core content into the game, and to engage you with that core content, what they're having to do is find ways to get that content to you so you'll read it. And if you're on a loading screen, there's nothing else to do. Rather than now looking into space, you're actually going to be able to read a newspaper article. It's going to update every patch, and that's going to tell you kind of what's going on. Some stuff in Arena Commander as well. I'm not actually going to go through this. You can if you want, but Arena Commander, some updates there as well. I'm going to focus on the Persistent Universe. So, bug fixes and technical updates. Are you ready? Here we go. There's a lot here. This is a big update. When we take the patch from 4.0.1 and we go into 4.0.2, the main focus on this patch, has been quality of life and bug fixing. So 4.0 launched, it was buggy, there were problems, but they had to get it out. And so 4.1 got launched quite quickly, addressing some of the major bugs, but there's still been a lot of concerns. Hangers, definitely been some issues with gameplay loops. And so here's a list of the bug fixes in 4.0.2. It's not fixed yet, not everything is done, but it's in a much, much better state. So fixed an issue causing transit in some landing zones to have no collision, causing players to fall through the transit floor. This happened in missions as well, especially in Pyro. They fixed that as well. Fixed an issue causing elevator carriages to be visually present but missing collision, causing players to fall through the floor. Pretty much if you just walked into the black void that would often see you just falling through the planet. Fixed an issue causing players to get stuck at position 1 in queue when joining a PU. Fixed an issue causing servers not to give error information on recovering while crashing. Players no longer have a chance to enter a non-owner personal hangar occasionally and end up out of boundary without player control. Fixed an issue with poor performance on Monarchs. That was a huge one for anyone that was on Monarchs, leading to input lag and delays of game updates. So that's now been fixed. Fixed an issue causing ship weapons to sometimes not fire. They have not, however, fixed some of the pips, some of the energy pips and the power pips that are still causing problems. But quantum travel should no longer stop after traveling a short distance before reaching its target location. This was happening because of server meshing. So what was basically happening is as you were crossing a server, you were being pulled out of quantum travel. They fixed that now. Fixed an issue causing ships to not begin quantum travel when the spooling is ready. They've done that. Multiple mission locations should no longer load without interiors. That again was a big problem in Pyro. Players' advanced HUD should no longer randomly go away, which is nice. Fixed an issue causing ship destruction and disconnecting whilst a vehicle is storing. Disconnecting during NPE and then signing back in after the Pisces rental. NPE is new player experience, by the way. So disconnecting during a new player experience and then signing back in after the Pisces rental had expired should no longer cause the player to only see the blank or black ASOP screen. Fixed an issue causing hauling missions to not reward players with payment after completion. Quantum travel nav markers should no longer become invisible. Crusader Hercules Starlifter should no longer spawn or land off balance on hangar floors. Freelancer variants and prospectors should now correctly have F interactions on the side doors whilst inside. For a while you couldn't get out through the side door, you could only get out through the back. Fixed an issue causing event contracts to not spawn enough enemy AI. Fixed an issue causing salvage missions target ships to suddenly disappear during a salvaging process. That was also an issue with the cleanup that we mentioned earlier. The ship's pitch, ladder, altimeter should no longer significantly reduce the client performance, which is nice. Fixed AI not spawning when arriving at attack on CFP outpost missions. Power allocation and power pip should no longer get set to 0 and on and off randomly. That one does still happen, unfortunately. Fixed an issue causing ship engine and weapons audio to go missing after spawning in a hangar and flying out. There's been a lot of audio updates and hangar audio updates. Sometimes in the hangars there are still some issues. Sometimes another ship will spawn in with you. Sometimes you'll lose audio. It still happens underground in caves as well. Cargo should no longer disappear and lock the cargo grid of a ship upon a ship auto-storing through leaving the game or leaving the hangar. Fixed an issue causing players to not be able to equip components looted from contested zones. Minables should no longer take up to an hour to transition from render nodes to the entity to be mined. That was a big problem we were having before. So people will be happy to hear that. Quantum traveling from a planet to an LEO should no longer sometimes jump past the destination. Bounty mission markers should now be properly routed from the star map. Freight elevator kiosks should no longer be missing from the RAB locations. Fuel amount should now be updated properly in a ship's fuel tank when crossing the DGS or the game server's mesh. Ground vehicles should now have the correct power to engines by default. Often you couldn't, if you got into a ship that you called, or a ground vehicle you called out your hangar, you couldn't drive it. You had to enable the power on it. So that's now on by default. Taking power away from the coolers and lift support should no longer revert back to coolers and life support after crossing an authority or a DGS zone. It does, unfortunately, so that one again, same as one above, is not working. Ground terrain should now properly render on atmospheric arena commander maps. Storing items from the actor to the storage access interface will no longer drop the item and make it lose interaction. That was a big one. Nice to see that fixed. Retrieving a ship after an initial recovery order or refinery order will no longer allow for the duplicated refinery orders. So that was a dupe that was fixed and patched. Nice to know that they've done that. Fixed an issue causing the C1 Spirit to not have a UI button on the console to access the remote turrets. Fixed an issue causing laser repeaters to not shoot or to stop shooting altogether. Fixed an issue causing the new player experience mission to stop progressing after landing in the hangar. Big one there for new players. Fixed an issue with the Reclaim Pyro Phase 2 missions giving random mission objectives instead of locations at the correct ones. Alright, clinic check-in kiosks should no longer get stuck displaying a room 0 message after a server recovery. Fixed obtrusive struts in a Cutlass Red, blocking pilot's view above the new MFD. That's a huge one for anyone that had the Cutlass Red. Those struts being really, really obtrusive to the vision and making people actually not want to use them at all. So glad that they've actually fixed that problem that should really never have been in the first place, but here we are. Fixed animation proxies blocking off a majority of the front cargo module with an invisible barrier on the Caterpillar. FPS weapons should no longer disappear when placed on the Crusader Mercury Star Runner weapon rack. Fixed the Origin 135C geometry blocking SCU crates from the cargo bay. Fixed obstructively bright white lights in the Misk Fortune dashboard. Fixed AR markers missing from the next checkpoint in Arena Commander race mode. And fixed many locations where players can get stuck between two walls of collision on the side of the lookout or watchtower at the derelict outpost. That is a huge amount of patches, refinements, quality of life updates, and just general bug fixes. So really, really good to see that in this release. In terms of technical updates, you can see there are 9 client crashes, 15 server crashes, 2 hybrid crashes, and a client deadlock. Yes, the one that everyone was talking about have been fixed. So huge amounts of updates here to be able to make this a much better and much more playable pack. There are some still known issues though. Supply or die, deterring cargo that has already been destroyed will blow up again when you quantum travel. This is if you're doing this supply or die mission, causing damage to your ship and other undamaged cargo. There is a workaround, just remove the dead cargo before quantum traveling. Fast storage and retrieval of ships does break the hangar still. That is something they're working on. Entry critical PU. This is a transit. This is the big one. In 4.0.1, this was really sort of crippling Grim Hex and a lot of other areas. So this is the transit. Entity Carriages is stuck in transit to a gateway but never arrives, which renders the gateway unusable. So if you click on a button but it never arrives, it's because it's trying to, but it's stuck in a loop. They've been doing an incredible amount of bug fixing, bug testing as well to be able to fix this. And it's looking a lot better at the moment. We'll see how the servers hold up. When the servers start to degrade, we'll see if this one comes back. But it is still a problem at the moment. Seems okay at the moment. I've been playing today. It's been all right. But we'll see how that goes. Critical mission refactor. So, com array repair. Contracting Mobiglass becomes hidden when another player enters the mission location. So the com array repair is part of the, obviously, being able to take down the com array. So this is if you're going to be doing illegal missions or illegal activities, you may want to take down the ComSat. The com array you can take down, but the mission for the repair doesn't work. This is all part of the mission refactoring that's going on. And as well as this, PvP missions don't work. This means if you're going to get a crime stat, you're not going to get players chasing you. You want to carry on with those Vaughn missions at the moment, you absolutely should. Just earlier on today, I was able to pick up 32 SCU of Maze just from a single Vaughn mission, netting me about 5.6 million in about 10 minutes of work. These Vaughn missions are completely broken right now. You don't even need to fire a weapon. Well, not a ship weapon anyway. If you go to the location and the ships are balked, you can just simply blast with your FPS gun the back door, kill the pilot, steal the ship, and just go and unload it in your hangar. Absolutely completely broken at the moment. Hopefully they'll fix that soon. But Vaughn missions, probably one of the most lucrative ways to make money in Star Citizen 4.0.2. Specifically with the fact that there is no PvP, the fact that you may as well just get your crime stat, not even bother with a ComSat array, just rinse and repeat those very difficult missions, and then when you're ready to log off, go to jail and just serve your sentence. Is what we're seeing. It's a cheesy grind. It's better than duping. I'll be fair, it's better than duping. I mean, it is a game loop. You're just abusing one that just is a weak game loop and allows for a way for you to make money. So that is what I would be recommending at the moment. If you're looking to make fast money quickly, I've got a video on this on the channel already. You can grind up to that from a starter ship, from a brand new account. You can grind up to that mission within 30 minutes. And then it's just from a starter ship again, very, very easy to be able to do that mission, get that loot. Go and rent yourself a Constellation Taurus. It's all you need. Anyway, that's the PvP aspect at the moment. So definitely abuse that whilst it is still not working. Star map, party members do not appear on a star map or area map. Locations, personal hangars, the actor, if the player ungracefully exits whilst in the hangar stow does not seem to unstow upon recovery. An ungraceful exit is just like Alt F4 or game crash. You know, if you just turn off your computer, just basically not logging out. High PU Pyro jump points locations. This is the space escaping. So asteroids that surround the Stanton Gateway can be seen inside the jump tunnel, and on occasions can cause a fatal collision when exiting the jump tunnel. Another one for Pyro is a jump point. Failing a jump point will displace the player far away from the gateway station. I don't see this as a bug. I think this is a feature. I quite like not going to the end of... If you're in Pyro, just jump out, and if you want to go to somewhere like Bloom, well, you're already close to it. You don't have to then travel all the way from the Stanton Gateway, because you're going to be halfway across the map. So people see that as a bug. I personally see it as a feature. I think you should be able to come out of the jump tunnel halfway through and just catapult yourself to a part of the map. But that's it. That's everything for the 4.0.2 update. So what I also want to talk about with that being launched is what's coming next. So what's coming next is they've updated the roadmap. So what we're going to see now in 4.0 is everything is now live except one thing, which is the supply or die that has now been committed. It is now live. So it's now live. So that went live yesterday. So that's now done. That means we are moving into 4.1. So 4.0.2, supply or die, that was the last part that was launched, and the last updates have been done. This is now live. It means we are now moving into 4.1. So let's have a look and see what is coming in 4.1 so far. By the way, this is tentative Q1, Q2. So I'm going to say Q2 is where we're going to be aiming for, and I will always aim at the end of Q2. So if we're looking at January to March as Q1, then we're looking at April, May, and then into the end of June. So I am saying that we are expecting 4.1 around July. Around July, halfway through the year, we should see 4.1. So what's 4.1 going to bring? A new mission giver. Now, what they're going to start doing, and what they've already mentioned, is that Star Citizen want to reduce the reliability on the Mobiglass. And so getting your contracts from the Mobiglass is a way to do it right now. What they want is that you go to specific locations and there will be an NPC character that you interact with to get your missions. This is very much what happened a lot in Starfield, if you remember. And so what we're going to be doing here is having a new mission giver, which is going to give a new type of mission. And then later on, you'll see there'll be a new location for this as well. And things are now being redacted because this is going to affect content within the game. And so it's been redacted to not ruin that surprise. There is also going to be a new armor set that comes with this, a new rugged and stylish armor set tailored for brave adventurers facing new dangers. So there is going to be something around 4.1, and that is going to come into gameplay. So, space combat missions, a new set of ship combat missions featured to improve scenario design and refined storytelling. This again is going to link. This is going to link into this mission giver. The mission giver giving out a new mission type. There's also going to be a new sandbox activity, so a new open-ended activity, blending on-foot exploration with aerial support, creating a sandbox gameplay opportunity for daring teams. This is going to be something similar to mining in the rock or going out and salvaging panels. There are some things that you can do right now in the game that do not require contracts. You can even go and do some cargo running where you go and buy and sell cargo. So there are some sandbox game activities that currently exist in the game. This is going to be another one of them. Also, there's going to be a new location. So the mission given location is redacted right now. So this will be that location where we will have to go to a specific point in a specific system to connect with the specific mission giver. So the mission giver and the location. And then this is going to give us some hints around this. So the Hathor Ground Alignment Station. Strategically placed Hathor-operated outpost providing key infrastructure and sandbox gameplay opportunities. So it's telling you what it is there for planetary operations. All right, so something that we're going to be able to do here. Something we're going to be able to do here around these mining lasers. Because we also have the Hathor mining station. Remember before it said there's going to be on-ground and on-ship activities. So it looks like you'll have to go down to the planet. You have to enable something. You maybe have to align it to the satellite. Then you'll have to go up to the satellite, probably put a fusing. You have to enable it, do something. There'll be a gameplay loop. You basically have to connect the ground unit to the space unit. Maybe line of sight or something like that. There'll be something you'll have to do. This is a large-scale mining laser facility operated by the Hathor Group. So I imagine you're probably going to have to point the satellite at the laser, point the laser at a mining thing, and then you'll be able to go to that location and get some rewards for it. Maybe it'll mine some stuff for you, so you get some SCUs of cargo. I don't know. Something like that. So this is all connected. It all makes sense. You're going to see a mission giver. That mission giver is going to be in a specific location. There's probably going to be a set of armor you're going to need around this. There's going to be a mixture of on-ground and space combat. The sandbox activity that's not been talked about yet is probably going to be related to these two locations, which is the ground and the space station for the mining, all around this new gameplay loop. So this new gameplay loop is what we are expecting in 4.1. Weapons and items, we can see the Vault is going to be making it. Hopefully that will just reduce a lot of the noise in the patch notes that we currently keep seeing. So the Vault, the AR, is going to be called the Parallax. The SMG, which is going to be called the Quartz. 2 new weapons. So that's everything that we're expecting in 4.1. There's obviously going to be the March update. We're going to look to get monthly updates. So we'll get an update in March. Going into April, we've got another 2 to 3 passes of quality of life updates where they can fix things like transit, where they can fix things like some of the lagging issues, some of the mission issues, some of the server crashes. All of these performance updates, quality of life updates, they've got another 2 or 3 passes to get that right, whilst bringing some of this stuff into play and working on some of this in 4.1. What we can also expect now is within Star Citizen 1.0, some of the stuff here has been updated, and this is not going to be for 1.0. Some of this will be pushed forward into subsequent patches. Now, I'm expecting we are still going to get a version 5 and potentially a version 6 before 1.0. The reason for that is we still need engineering. Now, engineering is quite a large update, and it would typically, I think, define a version update to 5.0 for engineering. So I think when engineering was supposed to be in 4.0, it did not come out. I think 4.0 is now going to be the patch of stability. You know, we saw a lot of updates when 4.0 came out. We saw quite a lot of changes. We saw the jump points. So now we have a second system. We also had, in terms of core tech, server meshing was released, as well as the mission system refractor. The AI, we got the Quasi-Grazer. And we also, just before that, had inventory added as well. So not only did we get all pyro systems, we had a huge inventory update. There was some stuff with new ships. But there was a huge update. And I mean, 3.24 brought in a lot of the freight elevators. But I would say that even though they were brought in 3.24, they were quite buggy. Storage access did work, but again, it was a bit buggy. And so even though 3.24 brought in the inventory system, I think 4.0 was when it started to get polished. 4.1 is going to take that to the next level. So maybe 4.2 brings in engineering, and it would be nice to see that. But if not, then it could be version 5. If not, then I absolutely expect to see version 5 coming into play when we look at something like either dynamic server meshing. I don't believe would do that. None of the others here, but let's have a look. So, okay. I'm looking for gameplay. Here we go. Let's have a look at gameplay. None of this. None of this. Reputation, no. Death of a Spaceman won't come in yet. AI Blaze would be nice. Fire Hazard, we'll get that. Charge and Drain Life Support will come in. Engineering gameplay. So this could be, engineering gameplay could be pushed forward. Even though it's in 1.0, I'm expecting this to be pushed forward into a 4 point something. Solar Flare as well. It'd be good to see both of these brought in the 4 point something series. If I keep going down here, we are going to be looking at, and we'll go through all of this in a minute, crafting. To me, crafting would make sense as a 5 point release. There's going to be a huge amount of work needed when crafting comes out. Now, we have a basic version of crafting right now. You can craft multi-tools, you can craft fuses. Above any of the salvaging ship, there is a basic loot. But crafting needs an entire, I would say, a year to cook, really, especially when it comes out and starts getting played with. So this to me, crafting is a 5.0 for me. Crafting is a 5.0. And I believe we're going to see crafting first. I think we're going to see crafting first. I believe it would make sense to bring that in, to introduce it, to give us some value into some of the items that we're crafting, that we're trading and moving around at the moment. And then we've got base building. So base building to me could potentially be a 6.0. I see crafting as a huge one in itself, and I see base building as another huge milestone. And so I believe these will get brought forward before 1.0. So this will be, to me, the if engineering comes into the 4 point, then to me crafting would be 5 point, base building would be 6 point, and then we would go to 1.0. That would make sense to me when I look at this. So let's just go through and have a look at all of the 1.0 we can see everything that's due. So characters, Starwear, the ability to be able to mix and match both your clothing and your armor sets, also bringing in a whole new group of armor sets, allowing, if you're going to be fighting, you're going to want some FPS gear. If you're going to be flying, you're going to want ship gear, and not being able to use certain stuff in certain places. This to me seems like it's going to be a 1.0 release. Maybe it will get brought in along the lines, but I think overall this is a 1.0. So that's going to be in characters. Core tech, StarSim, back-end system and tools simulating the state of the universe and economy and dynamically responding to players' actions. So the StarSim is also going to need the crafting. It'll all work together, but that I see as a 1.0 release. Content instancing, we know this is starting to come out. We've even seen some stuff on social media where some of the team have started to talk about this. I think content instancing we're going to see soon. We may even see this in a 4-point release. This is going to be some of the locations under some of the planets, the pipe systems that we've talked about. If you look at places like Area 18, you look at some of the dungeons. So they're talking about taking the system of bunkers. So at the moment, when you go to a bunker, you go down the lift in a bunker to surface or to, lower level 1. You've got surface and then you've got lower level 1. Well, the idea is we've started to see with contested zones can take you down to 7-8 layers deep. And those elevators allowing you to go into an elevator allows you to load another instanced zone. So contested zones are already showing us this, but we're talking about seeing this on a much, much bigger level. And so I think once this is in, it's going to really start to isolate some of this gameplay. And it's effectively, these are dungeons. This is just going into a dungeon. Dynamic server meshing. So we've got static server meshing at the moment. They're definitely working on that. It's getting a lot cleaner. We're seeing 600 players on a server. The servers definitely feel a lot more alive now. Some of the frustrations trying to get out your hangar and having to queue to do that, but just seeing a lot more people around certain areas now does make the system feel a little bit more alive. Taking that static server meshing and making it dynamic, this is going to be the real chef's kiss on the system. And by the way, server meshing isn't new. It's been around a long time. Other games have done it. But what we haven't seen before is real-time, low latency, high fidelity server meshing. This has never been done. Being able to run around at 60 frames a second in 2 or 4K, shoot somebody and have that bullet register when they're on a different server in real time is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And so dynamic server meshing, very excited for that. Star Audio will be good. That's going to be a new suite of tools and tech aimed at improving the quality and fidelity of the sounds in Star Citizen, which already I think is incredible. But we've seen some of the Squadron 42 updates in space, some of that immersion, jumping between different platforms. It really does sound incredible, and I'm looking forward to that. Global illuminations, the implementation of global illumination, providing further visual improvements to the lighting of both interior and exterior spaces. Starchitect, and this is a new tool that scatters ground locations based on environment and designer data. So this is using AI to populate the world. So this is going to completely scale. Now, you may look and go, yeah, but it's taken them 10 years to get here. Yeah, all right, it's taken them 10 years to get here, but they've been building the foundations. Now these foundations are in place, you can start to scale up quickly. What used to take hundreds of people who were talented in their fields years to be able to create a single biome, now everything can be procedurally generated with AI and created much quicker. The level of scale that we can build and spin up planets, and having these effectively prompts, which is what they are, prompting the planet on what to do and how to do it, we're going to see some very interesting biomes created. And that also connects into Planet Tech version 5. So implementing the next generation of world creation with increased scale, complexity and believability. This is going to be incredible for these biomes. And then that's going to also bring in dynamic weather. So we've already seen some dynamic weather. I've been flying out of Area 18 before, and I've gone through a thunderstorm. They have started to implement this So real-time simulation of weather fronts on a planetary scale, including rain, wind, and thunder. I've seen this. I've seen it in the PTU. They've been testing and playing with this already. Very, very excited for this. Really adds to the immersion. All right, let's look at gameplay. Quantum Boost. This is one that we have been desperately waiting for. No more traveling to a place or getting lost and not be able to get back to a place. You are going to be able to do short bursts of travel on QT, which is going to... I guess it depends on how this works in combat. I would really like to see that this will not work if you've been attacked or if you're attacking. So there'll be a spool up time to be able to use this, which would stop you, because otherwise you'll just shoot someone, QT out, QT in, shoot someone, and that could be really frustrating. So I don't imagine they're going to allow for that. Guild system. So guilds providing guilds to the persistent universe, which provides rewards and content for different professions for players as they complete contracts and earn reputations. This one is going to be massive. There are so many different guilds and opportunities here that when we see this introduced, it's really going to add the grind to the guild system. Insurance, taxes, and warranty. This will be nice because this will stop people abusing ships. So a new system to handle medical items, vehicle insurance, and associated fees. That's going to obviously improve how we play the game. Law and security is going to get an update. It's going to handle infractions along with security responses to criminal activity, which will be nice. Reputation version 2 going into the guild system, integrating a reputation system with guilds and rewards, as well as the addition of an improved reputation app. Very, very much looking forward to this. Right now, the only real gameplay loop you have at the start is to grind money to buy ships. This is why I always recommend people start with a starter ship, because if you go and buy expensive ships, you're kind of cheating yourself out of an opportunity to enjoy the game, because it's one of the only game loops. The second game loop at the moment is grinding reputation, but that's a bit broken in some areas. It's not ideal, it doesn't work properly. And so after that, there's nothing else to do except create your own content. So you can play with friends, you can go and do stuff. There is the possibility, but once you've maxed out reputation and you've got all the ships, game gets a little bit stale at the moment. So reputation version 2, really looking forward to that. New player professions. So addition of new player professions for the persistent universe. Death of a spaceman. Very, very excited for this. This is probably going to be the icing on the cake. So this is introducing a permadeath and associated consequences to Star Citizen. This is going to completely, to me, Death of a Spaceman is 1.0. Once that is in, that is 1.0. Once that is live, I believe everything else at that point will be live, because they can't introduce this whilst there are bugs and challenges and problems. It's not fair. They have to have a completely clean game that they're stable with and they're happy with. That's 1.0. Once we get to that point, Death of a Spaceman comes in, and then as far as I'm concerned, we should be coming out of early access. So still a way off for that, but excited to see it. AI Blades. This is going to be allowing AI to operate turrets on your behalf. I'm assuming you'll be able to control them from a centralized console or maybe engineering panel. But the idea, having AI and then being able to control them so that you can run a Hammerhead solo with a crew of AI. Item Misfire and Wear and Tear. Looking forward to this one as well. This will hopefully start to bring in overheating. So we'll start to see that as well. But gradual wear, ship malfunctions, weapon FPS malfunctions. Really looking forward to that. You know, if you make an item out of poor quality materials, it's more likely to break. Middle of a firefight, luck can be just as much a part of skill. If your weapon misfires, and you may get shot by a noob, just because you weren't properly looking after your kit. So much more care and attention over kit and high quality kit. Fire hazards. So we know this is part of the engineering gameplay that's coming in, bringing in fire extinguishers, and then having this. I do see this coming in 4 point something. So I think a 4-point release will bring this in, maybe 4.2. 4.2 would be very, very nice to see something like engineering and fire coming with that. I'd like to see them around the same time, as well as charge and drain. So expanding the utility of the multi-tool with the ability to drain and transfer power between object, which will unlock new puzzle solving and support roles, but also can't just run around with a multi-tool. You know, and if you lift a heavier box, maybe it will drain quicker. Max lift as well, you know, we've got the batteries already, they just don't work. So I think this again will be implemented in 4 point something. I think engineering is going to bring in fire hazards, charge and drain. I think all of this is going to come into the 4 point build up, as well as, because we've got another 3 months, right? I mentioned until we get into that, this is all saying Q1, Q2. This isn't everything, so other stuff will be brought across, and I'd like to see things like this brought in to the 4 point update. Also, we'll see life support, so integrating the life support system into the ships, making oxygen management and environmental controls critical for survival. Another part of the engineering gameplay loop. Again, maybe that's been pushed back to 5.0, but I think we may see it in 4.2, 4.3, possible. We'll see, but 4.1 is Q1, Q2. There's still a 4.2, and 4.2 is going to be Q2, Q3. So I do see engineering this year. Maybe we're looking at second half of the year for engineering, so I think we're going to have a lot of these little systems start to come on board. Maybe they bring fire in first and fire extinguishers. Maybe they bring that gameplay loop in on its own. But engineering is going to be, for me, that is going to come at maybe Q2 this year. Solar flares, be good to see that. Vehicle radar and scanning rework will be done. FPS radar and scanning, so having radar and scanning for FPS. I think that will probably drop into a later update. We'll see that. Control surfaces, so improving atmospheric flight dynamics with function control surfaces, allowing for more precise maneuvering and realistic aerodynamics. Hangar upgrades, expanding our personal hangar customizations with new upgrades, layouts and functional improvement. So that will be nice. Weapon overheat, so as well as having the charge, as well as having the fire, like imagine overheating your weapon, it can cause a fire. You know, if you've got a ship and you just constantly fire that ship's weapon, you're running laser repeaters, you may have upgraded your coolers, you may have upgraded your power pack, but you're going to have weapons overheating and you could end up with a fire in your ship. Also, if you've got an FPS weapon, you throw it on the floor, maybe that's going to cause a fire. So weapon overheating. So introducing heat belt up and overheat mechanics for energy weapons, requiring careful trigger discipline and heat management during sustained firefight. I think this is going to link very closely into the fire mechanics that we're going to see on ship. Radiation, implementing dangerous radiation zones in specific locations, forcing players to adapt with specialized gear and strategic navigation. So that's going to be part of Starware that we're going to see. We're going to have all of the different kits, so you're going to have certain kits for certain things. Even maybe you'll have to have a multi-crew with different people running different things. Player space stations. This to me is another part of 1.0. Space stations is the end game for orgs. This is going to be a huge operation. This will come after base building, in my opinion, and this will be one of the last factors with Death of a Spaceman to be able to launch 1.0. Crafting, we've already talked about. Getting crafting into the game is going to be massive. Base building as well, but I see crafting as maybe the 5.0, and I see base building as 6.0. So I don't see crafting this year. Maybe we get it towards the end of the year. Maybe crafting comes in around CitizenCon. Maybe that CitizenCon is when we get crafting. But base building, I just don't see base building this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see crafting and base building in the game this year. That to me is a next year. This year is quality. They're going to slow things down. They're going to sort out the quality. They're going to fix all of the back-end systems. They're going to do all the refactoring. It's going to make it more stable. And then they're going to start bringing in things like crafting and base building next year, in my opinion. All right, new mission location repairs. So new mission types introducing repair mechanics, requiring players to restore damaged outposts first. Debuting in Pyro's Lawless Frontier. So we're going to start seeing that, which we'll probably start seeing soon. Player-to-player trading, implementing the ability for players to set up their own shops and sell wares to other players. Again, probably a 1.0 update there. Player organizations, implementing the ability to create and fully manage player organizations, including a dedicated Moby Glass app. Looking forward to that one. A new social Moby-Glass app, so creation of a new Moby-Glass app to manage friends and contacts, as well as the ability to easily find and create groups. I'm sure that's probably happening in the background by another team, but I don't see that coming out anytime soon. Maybe a 5.1 or a 6.1, maybe we'll see that. And then citizenship, this is going to be a 1.0 launch, which means when you complete the game loop, there's going to be a story mode in Star Citizen, not the Squadron 42, but there's another story mode. So you've got Squadron 42, which is your cinematic AAA Hollywood blockbuster single player campaign mode. But there's also going to be a story mode in Star Citizen in the Persistent Universe that will lead you towards citizenship. And then planetary shields. So this is a way for people to be able to protect their bases. So when base building comes out, we'll probably see planetary shields. So this is more of maybe a 6.0 release. Ownership, implementing a robust ownership system for items, vehicles, and more, including the ability to transfer ownership both legally and illegally. Another big one that we'll probably see after crafting. All right, so there's a lot there. Utility tunnels, so a new location archetype that brings sandbox content to landing zones such as the municipal works under ArcCorp. So this is what we were talking about before when we looked at that dungeon model that's being created. Kind of already exists, but they're going to build this out properly, and we're going to have that. So that's another thing that will come in. That will come in before 1.0. Sports Federation, so racing and things like that will be cool. We'll hopefully see some esports around Star Citizen. I'm very, very excited to be able to get involved and be part of that. The Council, so governing bodies for there's a collective of syndicates, gangs, and outlaws who mandate criminal activity throughout the systems. The Mercenary Guild, the Academy of Sciences, we're going to see the United Resource Workers. These are all of the different occupations. Transport Guild, building interiors. Okay, so having layouts to fill the interiors of various buildings, including landing zones and other points of interest. There's going to be the Nyx system, the Castra system, and the Terra system. We will be launching with 5 systems, and the story mode will go around all of those. Now, these are going to start popping up much quicker now because the AI is going to be able to generate these procedurally, and so that tech is really going to help these to grow. Missions and events. Location stories. We're going to see narrative arcs set in specific areas, allowing players to experience unique various locations in the verse. There's going to be the main story we talked about, and station warfare. All of this to make 1.0. So there is a lot. There is a lot still to come, and we still have at least a couple of years. We know Squadron 42 is at least a year out. At least a year out. We know that this year is focused on quality of life updates. Hopefully we see engineering. We see all of the bug fixes, all of the stability. Hopefully we see some content. We start seeing the mission refractor working. So we start moving a lot of these missions out of the Moby-Glass. We start moving them across into locations, because that is going to keep people engaged. How do you stop people getting bored when most of the updates are going to be quality of life and stability updates? We need to start changing things for them to do. So giving them new locations, drip feeding this content of missions, and creating these new stories. This is what's going to be happening throughout the year. So not a lot is going to happen, because once you've got that framework, it's a rinse and repeat. They can just keep putting in new locations and new mission givers. So that system, I think, will be coming here. We can already see this in 4.1. So they're moving on this now. So 4.1 to 4.2 is really going to be starting to move a lot of this stuff out of the Moby-Glass. And you're going to have to, and think about this. At the moment in your Moby-Glass, you can just open up your Moby-Glass and you can accept a mission. Done. If you have to fly to a location to get that mission and then fly somewhere else to get another mission and then find those places, it's a time sink. The time that you're going to spend going between locations and figuring stuff out is the time that the developers have to keep working on the quality of life updates and the bug fixes. So they're buying themselves time for the rest of this year by doing this. And so that is going to allow them to hopefully have some breathing space, which they need, to get them to a place where they can start bringing in these next systems. Engineering. That engineering system is going to be massive, going to break the game. We need stability on everything before that so that engineering can come in. Crafting is going to break the game. base building is going to break the game, and so they're going to have, like, we cannot push forward if we don't break things. We have to be willing to break things. We have to be willing to take a step back so we can move forward. And hopefully that stability they're working on right now, and introducing these new characters and locations, gives the player base enough to do to keep them distracted whilst the team focus on this. All right. So that's everything to do with the release view. There's a lot going on here, by the way. This has taken almost an hour just to go through. And that brings us to where we currently are now, which is Supply or Die. Supply or Die is the new mission that is out in 4.0.2. It's a little bit challenging at the moment because everybody's logged in to do it on day one. So getting some of the items you need can be a bit challenging. But it turns out, as a continuation of the story, that the Stanton system has been left in political and emotional turmoil after this week because of shocking revelations that the Slicers' true identity, the terrorist gang responsible for last year's devastating pirate attacks and the death of thousands of citizens, has been newly identified as the Frontier Fighters. The Frontier Fighters, an extremist faction known for their militaristic values and anti-pyro rhetoric. So now, with growing resources at the Frontier Fighters' fingertips, many are merely fearful of more targeted attacks and more Stanton lives being lost in the crossfire. Alright, so going behind the propaganda, they've really started to try and throw curveballs out here now. So we can start to see they're building this story mode in now. Really nice graphics, nice stuff that they're talking about. So supporting headhunters, supporting the citizens. You basically got to make a choice. Are you citizens for prosperity, or are you headhunters? You have to choose a direction, and then on that direction, you're going to have to build out as you go. So some people are going to be starting to choose factions now, and they have said by the end of this, it is going to change the destination of the persistent universe. So these narratives now that we're starting to see, it's really, really good the way they're doing this. There's different things that you can do here. There's also things that you can earn as a result. So lots of stuff you can do there to get this stuff. But there's also different missions you can do. There's a lot of cargo hauling. Some of the cargo you can't buy anymore. Some of it you have to go and mine. Some of it you have to go and salvage. It's a different game loops playing into each other. People are saying right now inside the game, oh, but there's no tin. We can't buy any tin. We can't buy any pressurized ice. Well, guess what? Can't buy it. We've got to go and mine it. It's not available. But then there's other players. There's other players that are going out, stocking up on this stuff and selling it to other players. And so, again, you can do that. You can actually set up your own shop at the moment. You know, somebody comes into your hangar, you add them as a friend, they transfer you some credits, you lift up a box and give it to them. And then they lower the box. That could be a way that you can do a trade deal at the moment. So there are ways that people are being really creative with the way that they start to do this and make money. But yeah, some really fun stuff to be able to do there. So again, definitely going to be a shopping spree. Obviously, wouldn't be Star Citizen without that. But that's it right now. That's everything that we need to know about Star Citizen 4.0.2 and what I believe we're going to see over the course of the next year. Lots and lots of updates, lots of changes. I think this is positive. Massively positive. We are starting to see some real progress in the quality of life, in the direction. There's clarity, there's confidence. And I believe that we're going to see by the end of this year a foundation that can be easily built upon. And I don't think it's going to be that long before we get the next iteration of this game. And so whilst we're going to spend this year focusing on backlog, quality of life, stability, systems, upgrades, refactoring, next year, I think we're going to see a lot more coming in terms of base building, crafting, and the final game loops getting ready for 1.0. So I still believe we're 2 years out. I think we're 2 years out. I think we're going to get a Squadron 42. And I think we'll get a Squadron 42 because Squadron 42 is going to be about 40 hours of gameplay. So I reckon that you'll probably be able to complete it quicker, but at the same time, there's probably like 100 hours of content there. And I think what's going to happen is that people are going to go from Star Citizen into Squadron 42. Everybody's going to play that, and then they're going to come back and they're going to use that hype, they're going to use that momentum to launch Star Citizen 1.0. So I think that when Squadron 42 launches, there is probably going to be maybe a month, maybe less, or maybe even at the same time or staggered just slightly. But we're going to see, I believe, Star Citizen 1.0 around the same time as Squadron 42, and I still think that's 1 or 2 years out. So we shall see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. I wanted to keep this to under an hour. Thanks for your time. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.